an athlete that is HIV positive cannot be discriminated against from playing athletics. Just the rules, just the law, because it's discrimination. All right? So you never know who you're playing against. And so you got to protect others from the risk of infection. That is the priority of the athletic trainer, the coach, and the referees, umpires, etc. That's why they go, hit, timeout, on me. This kid is gone until this blood is cleaned up. So, and the odds are pretty rare, like gazillion to one. But if there's a gazillion to one, that means there's a one. So, mandatory screening for HIV may not be allowed to determine if one can play sports. One would hope that if they were HIV positive, although Magic Johnson did go back to basketball after he knew he was HIV positive. He went back and played like 2 years later. He wasn't near as good, mostly because of age, not HIV. Encourage those who are at high risk to get voluntary anonymous testing. So if you're a student trainer in college and you know there's a party chick or a party boy that just party and doesn't make the right decisions and is promiscuous, you need to try to explain to them that there's more consequences than just getting pregnant. Many states have confidentiality laws, and you should be aware of the laws in your state. Plain and simple, with medical records, you can't talk about it. You can't go, did you see Jimmy? He came in and had his HIV paper on there. Whoo, you better not date him. Sorry. You can probably be more tactful, but without explaining why he's HIV positive. Yo, dude, you might not want to date her. You're just too young. That's the problem. You're too young to make a good decision. So, if you got an athlete who is bleeding, remove them from the contest, the practice. All right? Saturated uniform must be removed and replaced. There are commercial products to remove blood from uniforms for small spots. And wear gloves. Wear gloves. All right? So there's a little trick as far as like, if you need to cover something up. Take a little mud if it's raining. Take a little mud, put it on somebody, cover it up. Right? So one of the former student trainers, she remembered that when we talked about it. But she also forgot about wear gloves. There was a woman I worked with when we were working. You ever watched Mesquite Rodeo or ever hear of it on TV? So I used to go and work a lot of Mesquite Rodeo, and there's one girl, she worked it too. She helped somebody, didn't put gloves on, and then she was standing up at the rail. We're watching the rodeo. She starts biting her nails, and she looks down. Yeah, there's blood under her nails. Glove up. You never know. Anti-germicidal agent for washing your hands immediately after working with blood or body fluid. Put it in a biohazard container. Clean your tables, countertops, etc. that might be contaminated. Place biohazard warnings on containers. We don't deal with enough blood. Don't be rooting around in trash. All right? Stay out of the trash. There's no cure for HIV, but antiretroviral therapy can help control the virus. So this therapy is a series of medicines that prevent the virus from multiplying. Well, it helps prevent it from multiplying. Okay? Reduces the amount of HIV in the body and helps reduce risk of transmission But if you're left untreated, HIV will end up being AIDS. All right, so because HIV is human immunodeficiency virus, all right, and AIDS is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Not virus, it's syndrome. So your immune system is beat up so bad, you get AIDS. So not a fun thing. They had and I don't know if you can do this. You can get online. The Corpus Christi Caller Times is a newspaper in Corpus Christi, and in 1992, somewhere around there, 1992. So you'd have to look 91, 92. You can run a search about. They had a week-long story about one person. They followed him for 6 months, and then they did a week-long special on him in the newspaper. Page after page after page. Right. Pictures of him, of his decline, and so forth. It's a painful death to die of AIDS, of HIV. If you end up with it, you better make sure that you get on ART without treatment. People who progress to AIDS usually survive about 3 years. And then it's no more Christmas presents, no more birthday parties, no more movies. Terrible. Possibly. Doesn't matter how it, well, if you want to get into theology, we'll have to do that after later. So, once you have a dangerous opportunistic illness, life expectancy without treatment falls to about a year. So an opportunistic illness would be the rare form of pneumonia that shows up, the rare cancers that show up, that your body normally just punches them out and off they go. They're gone. But if you have AIDS, it's not that way anymore. You can't fight them off. Your T cells, the number of T cells you have are so low, it just that's your immune cells. However, if you're taking ART and maintain a low viral load, then you may enjoy a near normal life, but yet go back to the recommendations of how to prevent HIV. Most likely, you'll never progress to AIDS. So, thus, if you look at Magic Johnson, they're still saying that yes, he has HIV, but it's really difficult to detect it in his blood, such as tuberculosis. Okay? You don't look for HIV in blood tests. What they do is they take your blood and they look for the antibodies that fight HIV. Same with tuberculosis. They stab you on the arm with a little special deal. They put that serum there, and if you have a reaction, then that means you have a reaction to the antibodies. The antibodies are coming up to the skin. That means then you have tuberculosis. You're not finding the tuberculosis, you're finding the result of you having it. Same with HIV. All right, this is some cool stuff. Anybody ever hear of staph infections? Yes, you had one. You had it removed by surgery. That sounds like fun. Wasn't? What big? Yeah. Well, this stuff will kill you. It can. Well, it depends upon what do you mean by a lot of football players get it. Sweat it on the mat. Some of you have already got it right now. Not always. Not everybody. All right. What is this called? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Or MRSA. It's a bacterium that causes infections in different parts of the body. It's tougher to treat than most strains of Staphylococcus aureus or staph because it's resistant to some of the commonly used antibiotics. Here's the thing about being a host, and that's all we are as a host. We're a host for the cold, we're a host for the HIV, we're a host for whatever. Those cells are constantly looking for a new host so they can stay alive and perpetuate what they are, just like everything else in the world. Rabbits, they're trying to perpetuate and have baby rabbits. Doggies, kitties, deer, people, viruses, bacteria, everything is generated to try and prolong its life or prolong its species or whatnot. So we're a host. Once we get it, it's up then we start taking antibiotics. We quit taking antibiotics, and then the bacteria says, "Whoa, that's like a steroid shot. I feel stronger," and they are. They are stronger because now that antibiotic probably is not going to be strong enough to kill that bacteria. So that's what makes MRSA so hateful. The symptoms of MRSA depend on where you are infected. Most causes is mild infection on the skin, causing what looks like a pimple or a boil. Right? Here's my whole deal. People come in, and what do they say? I got bit by a spider. Look, I got a spider bite. What do I say? No, I say, did you see the spider bite you? No. Well, then you don't have a spider bite. Yeah, well, that makes a whole lot of sense because that happens all the time, right? No. Google this. No, the average it's lifetime. It's lifetime. You eat 8 bugs in your lifetime. All right, Google this. Come on, you guys got phones right there, and no one's picking it up. Google this. All right. I got bit by a spider. Let me see. How do I put that? Google. If um, you run the show? Are you running the show? Um, if you didn't see a spider, you don't have a spider bite. Y'all done? Can't type that fast? You guys should be able to swipe that fast. All right. So what's it saying? Google. Use that AT&T connection. Huh? Yeah. So, anyways, Coach Starnes over there across the deal. He comes in one day and he brought a kid. He goes, the kid does that. He goes, I got bit by a spider. I said, did you see a spider bite you? He said, no. I said, well, then you don't have a spider bite. Coach Starnes falls on the floor, just laughing like crazy. He goes, not everything's just common sense logic. I said, this one is. Don't fall into the trap of them saying, this pimple or this boil or this red spot that's got a fever is a spider bite. Why do they want to say it's a spider bite? Because they don't want to say that they got, because there's such a stigma with MRSA about, ooh, that only happens when you're dirty and you don't clean. That's not true, okay? But can also cause more serious skin infection and infect surgical wounds, the bloodstream, the lungs, the urinary tract. It eventually can. I knew a woman that went in for valve surgery. She got a valve, and the valve ended up having staph. She had to go in a chemotherapy-induced coma for ages to try and kill the staph. Huh? Yeah, I meant chemotherapy-induced chemical therapy drugs. All right. So here's some staph. Yeah, yeah. Because there's so many vampires. Looks like a vampire bite. Because there's so many of them. All right. So though most MRSA infections aren't serious, some can be life-threatening. Many public health experts are alarmed by the spread of the tough strains of MRSA. Because it's hard to treat, it's sometimes called a superbug. You know, we have that on our website that talks about how to avoid staph infection. So, the garden variety staph is a common bacteria that can live on our bodies. Plenty of healthy people carry staph without being affected. 33% of it have it in your noses. So one of you do, one of you do, one of you do. That's what the odds would say. Yep. Staph can be a problem if it manages to get into the body through an open cut or this turf. Turf is terrible for staph. All right. The reason why is it roughs your skin up. And once you rough up your skin, now you've got a way for staph to get into it. So I rough it up. I go in the weight room. This kid, he's 1/3 of those people. He sneezes. Oops, a little water droplet comes off. It's got staph bacteria in it. And there's that kid who's got his. Now, here's the other part of it. It shouldn't happen. That kid, even though he got it on that place that got roughed up, if he would go and leave the weight room and shower after they're done working out, more than likely the soap is going to kill it. But that's not what boys or girls do anymore. Y'all think that, oh my gosh, I am so vain. No one can see me if I was to shower. When I was in high school, we got done with football. We took our clothes, we threw them in a locker, and we marched and we went and everybody showered, just like a football team does. These kids don't. Holy smokes. They won't go in the shower. It's like water is their enemy. Soap, heavens to Betsy, must be the worst thing on earth. What? Oh, so staph is one of the most common causes of skin infections in the United States. Usually these are minor and don't need surgical treatment. Less often, though, staph can cause a serious problem like infected wounds and pneumonia. We had a kid over at the other high school I used to work at. He got it right here underneath his arm. They took gauze that was about this wide and about that long and packed it in it. That much they put in there to let that have a hole to where that staph and pus couldn't build up. And then every day he'd have to come to the training room. We'd have to pull it out, get a brand new sterile, gotten a string of gauze, and pack it back in there with a brand new sterile Q-tip. All right. That was after he spent 4 days in the hospital getting serious 24-hour antibiotics. You don't want to play around when you see your alleged spider bite. The other thing is you take your hand, all right? So run it across the back of your hand, across where it is. Go above it and bring it down. And that way you can feel whether or not it's got a fever. If it has a fever, what do you suspect? Infection. Infection causes fever. Staph can usually be treated with antibiotics, but over the decades, some strands like MRSA have become resistant to the antibiotics. MRSA was first discovered in 61, now resistant to methicillin, amoxicillin, penicillin, oxacillin, and many other antibiotics. These folks have to go in and spend time in the hospital and get the mega stuff that comes out of the IV bag. While some antibiotics still work, MRSA is constantly adapting, and researchers are developing new antibiotics, but are having a tough time keeping up because it doesn't want to die. It does not want to be the last staph bacteria. But MRSA is spread by contact. So you get MRSA by touching somebody who has it on their skin, or you get it by touching somebody's towel. Don't share towels, but y'all don't shower anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's not like you're going to share towels. But you'll get it in the weight room. You'll get it by touching lockers. You're not going to narrow it down as far as where you got it. Okay? It's just not going to happen. You can get it by touching a door handle, and then you rub something else or scratch. So, MRSA is carried or colonized by about 1% of the population, although most of them are not infected. Okay. Tomorrow, we'll review, and I will show you a neat